Elon, listen up. The Model 3 Project Highland, this revised version, it's good. It's very, very good. This is my car, had it a month, covered 4.5, nearly 5,000 miles in this already, and it is superb. Loads of really good improvements over the previous version. It's evolved nicely, but I understand you're working on a new version of the Model Y, due for release later this year. And I'm sure lots of the improvements on the Model 3 will carry over to the new Model Y, codenamed Project Juniper. But there's still room for improvement in a few places. So I spent a lot of time in this car in just 1 month. So I've managed to pick apart some good feedback that maybe you can incorporate into the new Model Y Juniper. And this is feedback from my 14-year-old daughter as well. So you really do need to listen up. So my name's Richard, and here's my wish list for the improvements that you should make to the next version of the Tesla Model Y. See, Tesla hat, Tesla jumper, Tesla fanboy. Well, look, I like a Tesla, they're very, very good, but we've got to not so much criticize, but I think it's important feedback, and I'm sure anyone watching this will also have comments of what should be improved with the Tesla Model Y for the next version, so write them down below, and when Elon watches this video, you can also look through the comments and see what everyone suggests. So, Model Y, look, it's a fantastic car, brilliant practical family car, great space inside, great efficiency, we know the supercharger network is brilliant. It's very, very good. Its main Achilles heel really has been its suspension, I think. It's been a bit too firm for a family car. Performance version, fair enough, make it firm, it might take it on a track, but it needs to be more refined and have a better ride. Now the Model 3 Highland does have the better ride now. They have worked really hard in this car to improve overall refinement, cabin noise and ride quality. Good job, thank you very much. It is much better and I much more enjoy driving this car for it now. Now the Model Y has always been a bit firmer than the Model 3 anyway. A higher car, maybe it needs to be slightly stiffer. So just be careful that it does keep the ride comfort that we need in this car. Again, performance, make it firmer, but the standard or long range versions make it nice and comfortable. Not just for the driver, but also for rear passengers jiggling around in the back. It's actually normally the rear passengers that complain more. So ride improvement, I'm sure is coming if it carries over this, but hopefully it's not just the same suspension because maybe it doesn't quite work in this. So ride and refinement, #1 priority. I mean, really it'd be good if you could put air suspension and adjustable dampers in. Is that too much to ask? From a cost perspective, probably so, but it'd be nice to have, wouldn't it? The Model 3 now has active matrix headlights, and they're actually very good. Thank you very much, Tesla. The headlights on these have been pretty rubbish for a couple of years, really. They're quite bright, but a kind of L-shaped beam pattern. It blinds lots of other drivers. The auto dip beam, low beam, has always been really slow to respond, doesn't really work properly. So I was worried when Matrix came in, it'd also be slow to respond, but actually this is very good. And I suspect basically these headlights are going to carry over to the new Model Y, and that's a good thing. So well done, keep that going. I hope to see that on the new Model Y. Plus, just bring over a software update to make these ones active Matrix as well. Does the Model 3 Highland have a good working rain sensor? No, absolutely rubbish. Auto wipers is not a thing, hasn't really been a thing for a couple of years now. I understand, apparently there's a software update coming. I think we've been promised this for a number of years, but for a number of years it's been rubbish. So with the new Model Y, a working rain sensor. Now, if you can get that working through the cameras and Tesla Vision, fair enough. Or just put a rain sensor in. I don't think the parts are too expensive and they just work as they have been on cars over a number of years. So working rain sensors, yes please, in a new car. And this one. And the other ones. So the Model 3 Highland has these new seats and they're a bit more supportive than the previous seats and a bit firmer in the cushioning as well, not quite as squishy. However, I think there's still room for improvement. I still find the seat base just a little bit too short, and when you measure the length of this seat base to here, it's about 2 or 3 centimetres shorter than most other cars. So could it be a little bit longer please? Or if a certain market around the world likes shorter seats, have both or have an adjustable thigh support. I don't think that'd be too hard to do. Second thing with the seats is the headrest. It's quite firm, it doesn't, you know, I'd like an adjustable headrest that can pull forward a bit and then be a little bit more squishy and comfortable if that's okay. I don't think it'd be too hard and I think it'd make all the difference. These are just a bit hard and bouncy and they don't support your head. Right, let's talk about stalks. So when the Model 3 Highland came out, we don't have stalks here anymore. Now, I'm actually okay with that. I've got used to it. It took me about 2 days, but indicating from the steering wheel, I've actually been okay with not having a drive selector here. Well, it guesses that you want to go forwards and backwards, and that works fine most of the time. And then you can just select forward and reverse from the screen. And I'm actually okay with that, but I think a lot of people won't necessarily be okay with that. So I don't know the resolve, you know. Do you put stalks in so that it keeps everyone happy? Do you push forward with this? Do you somehow make it an option that if someone doesn't get used to this, that they can add a little module, you know, take this panel off and put some stalks in it? I don't know, it's a bit awkward. I think ultimately it's not going to have any stalks. And you know, the feedback I've seen with Model 3 Highland, a lot of people have a lot of reservations about buying the car just because it doesn't have the stalks. It's probably one of the #1 comments I get on videos about the Highland. Dashboard, build quality, fit, finish, all good. One thing I've had a little bit from the Highland is I get kind of slightly cold knees here, and I think the ability to direct the airflow here is a bit limited because of dashboard design, so just check on that. I've had slightly cold knees somehow a couple of times. But otherwise, the interior, all lovely, the cabin, centre console, like before, all good. I would quite like to have the ability to swivel the screen towards me. Again, a lot of people have said they would like a head-up display or display here. I'm not bothered about that myself. I know some people would like to see a head-up display, but maybe at least if this could swivel round towards the driver, that would be nice to have just as a standard feature. A bit like this. Somehow that is just much nicer and better. It feels driver focused that way. No parking sensors on the Highland, and you know what, I'm actually fine with that as well. Tesla Vision has evolved nicely and is actually very good. Tesla Vision works well, so I have to say now I'm quite of the camp that we don't particularly need parking sensors. The only slight weakness is anything that's very low down just at the front of the car here. Understandably, it can't always see it. The Model Y is a bit higher up, so there's a bigger potential for things underneath the front bumper here that you can't see, or the cameras can't see there. So perhaps the Model Y should have that front bumper camera. I read somewhere that maybe that's been introduced to the S and the X forthcoming, so maybe we'll see that on the Juniper. The Model Y, sorry, it's not called a Juniper, Project Juniper. There'll be loads of comments about that as well, I'm sure. Door handles. They've always been hard to see, especially on a black car is even worse, but there's no illumination in door handles, there's no illumination under here, so at night you really can't see the door handles and you are just literally doing this. So there needs to be some kind of light that as you approach the car, even if it's a little yellow, little light in here, a little LED light in there, just something so you know where to press. And these handles, I guess they look quite cool, they're nice and flush, but they've always been a bit awkward, especially for kids, I think, to do that, then hang on, then do that, somebody's holding something, do you know what I mean? So kids don't have the hands to sort of be able to do that in one motion, smaller hands, so could there be a new door handle design? You walk up to it and maybe they illuminate and come out a little bit. I've seen that as aftermarket accessories you'd be able to get for Model 3 and Model Y for some time. And I think it's quite a good idea. The Model Y is much more comfortable as a rear seat passenger than this Model 3. Although the seats are better now, so we see some improvements to the seats on that would be great. But the Model Y in the back for an adult even is great, and you can get your feet right underneath the seat in front, which you can't do in a Model 3 like this. So back seat's not really an issue with the Model Y at all. I'm sure it won't continue to be. What this bit about here is this screen. Now, my daughter loves having this screen in the back. She can turn her own heated seats on, she can watch YouTube and Netflix. But although it's a nice thing to have, it is sort of in the wrong position, isn't it? It's down here where I think it's a bit susceptible to being knocked, especially if there's a kid in a booster seat in the middle or something with their feet here, or kids here kicking it. And if you're watching the video, it's kind of down here, so you always see her like leaning forwards like this to kind of select YouTube and everything like that. She's got some Bluetooth headphones there, and then she can sort of sit back and watch it, but it is a bit in the wrong place. So my 14-year-old daughter said, can it not just be like an old Land Rover we used to have, and it's here in the back of the headrest? So if you make this headrest bigger, like I've already said, and put a screen there, and you have one for each rear passenger, would probably also prevent some of the fights the kids will have in the back because they're watching the thing that the other one wants to watch. So kind of nice to have it, but is there a way to do it here? And that would be better, wouldn't it, really? It would be the better solution. Got to admit, surely. Here. So maybe Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. Much as the map in here is good, what I like about having cars with Apple for me is I use Waze, and with Waze one of the most useful things with that is where you can put a pin and say there's bad traffic or there's a pothole. So when I drive down the road, someone's told me there's a massive pothole, and there it is. So maybe you can add that into this navigation, good though this navigation is, or maybe just enable Apple CarPlay, Android Auto for the cars. Also, sunglasses. My sunglasses are bundled down in this lovely big storage compartment. However, I would just kind of like somewhere to store sunglasses properly. Is there a space in here somewhere? Maybe they can go up here somewhere. It's a petty little thing, but this is a nice big cubby hole, and I put them in there, and then other things just get put on top of them. So I would kind of like something like that, really. Double glazing, good. Tinted windows, good. However, my daughter, now she says she wants rear window blinds. Well, I've taken cars home and they've had rear window blinds, and she says that's what she wants. So rear window blinds should be on the back of a Model Y, because apparently sun glare is still too much when you're trying to sleep in the back or use your phone and stuff like that. So yeah, if we could have rear window blinds, it'd be great. Thank you very much. Any sign of vehicle to load, vehicle to grid? I mean, vehicle to load, I have to say, like, I don't find a lot of uses for it, but you may as well have something, an adapter that goes in here, and you can do a vehicle to load. Keep everyone happy. The boot space, a nice big practical boot, nice load area, big storage underneath, that's all good. My problem comes with this thing here, the parcel shelf, the load cover. Now the original Model Ys in the country didn't have this, and I was fine with that, that's good. You've got very dark tinted windows, so you can't really see in the boot anyway, but look, I guess if somebody was shining a torch in the boot, you could still see. And the whole point of having the cover here really is to stop things flying around the cabin if you have a crash. And this is just held in by magnets, and it's not really going to do much to do that. I don't really like that folding mechanism, and it doesn't lift up when the boot opens up. So I would just get my design team around the table and go, right, let's sort out what we're going to actually do for a load cover stroke parcel shelf. That's what I would do. So adding some, all those features could be expensive, right? Yeah, double screens in the back. Maybe so. Is it time Tesla considered trim levels? Do you have a kind of base version and then like a luxury version? A luxury version's got adjustable dampers and the double screens in the back, and you know, some of those niceties to have there, the adjustable thigh supports and the seats, but then you have a base version that doesn't. Do you have like a real base version, like a utility version that councils and governments use, and companies just as work vehicles? So you have a real basic version, then a mid-spec, and then a luxury trim. I don't know, just putting suggestions out there. It's good not to have a massive options list like the likes of Porsche and Volvo and stuff like that. But you know, it could still be quite simple just to have a couple of trim levels. And whilst I'm at it, could there be a standard range but with four-wheel drive? Because you might not need a big battery, but four-wheel drive might be very handy. Consequently, maybe there's people out there that want the big battery, but rear-wheel drive only is fine. So maybe there's a couple of options out there as well. Anyway, that's it. You know, don't get me wrong. This is a brilliant car. This is a brilliant car. The new version of this is going to be good, especially the refinement that they've added to this car is nice to have. But look, it's probably going to be the #1 selling car in Europe and America. It is already a great car. There's just those rooms for improvement that I think would then make it 10 out of 10. You really can't criticise it. And surely that's what you'd want, Elon, isn't it? Well, there you go. I've given you everything you need there. But also read the comments below. Hopefully everyone's going to put down there what they think the new Model Y should include. And there we have it. That's my suggestion. So I look forward to picking up my new car later this year.